That looked like a uniformed soldier opening up a gate for illegals at the border. Let's talk to Eli Crane about that. We normally don't have Navy personnel on before the month of June, but here he is, Republican Congressman from the great state of Arizona, and of course, Navy SEAL Eli Crane. Eli, do we have military personnel allowing the invasion of our country now?
It's tough to say. Jesse, thanks for having me on, brother. I think, anything's possible at this point. I never thought I'd see the day where we had leaders and officials in this country, allowing the wholesale invasion of the United States. But here we are. And it's interesting, Jesse, because I sit on the Homeland Security Committee, talk, back and forth with the Democrats all the time. And unless you're talking about white supremacy, they don't really seem to care about what's going on at the border. So unless white supremacy is pushing these folks over the border, unless they're white supremacists, they really don't seem to care about it. And it's sad, man, because they seem so transfixed on that one issue that they're unwilling to do anything about the southern border.
What's the Secure Border Act, by the way?
The Secure Border Act that we just passed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's, the number one thing it does, Jesse, is it finishes the border wall, adds 22,000 Border Patrol agents, some of the rest of the infrastructure needed for border security. Because as you know, Jesse, being a former Marine, security is not one thing. It's overlapping deterrence. That's what this bill does. It supports local law enforcement as well. And, according to some of the more senior members of the House of Representatives and the Freedom Caucus, they tell me that this is the best border bill they've ever seen come through the House. And so I'm glad that we were able to pass it. We'll see what the Senate does. And yeah, man, I mean, these are crazy times we live in.
Speaking of crazy times, I have been kind of impressed with Kevin McCarthy so far. Here was Kevin McCarthy. Well, here's what he said.
I was very clear with Secretary Mayorkas months ago, even before this Congress took over, that I think he had failed at his job. I think every American, when they look at when Mayorkas goes on television, tells them the border is secure, and why you have in the camera frame thousands of people just walking into America, nobody believes that. I bet if you hook Mayorkas up to a lie detector test, he could not pass a lie detector saying the border is secure. I think America has a lot of questions, and I think he should have to come before the committee and answer all Americans about this.
Eli, are we getting close to an impeachment on this Mayorkas guy? Guys I talk to say this is the one, his head's probably on the chopping block.
It better be, Jesse. I sponsor articles of impeachment that Annie Biggs launched, probably a couple months ago, because even back then we knew that he, wasn't doing his job, complete dereliction of duty. But that's one of the most frustrating things up here in this town, man. You'll have Republicans who, think it's political or theater. And I'm just thinking to myself, we need some accountability. This guy is not only not doing his job, but there's blood on his hands. And so we have to get rid of him. We have to hold him accountable. There can't be one standard for the American people and a completely different standard for this administration.
Okay, you brought up white supremacy earlier. I'm very curious. You sit down with these people. Do you think they genuinely believe there's some white supremacy problem out there? Eli, I don't think I've ever met one. I'm 41 years old. It's something that doesn't really exist in any organized form anymore in this country, thank God. But these people, do they really believe it, or do they just lie and that's just who they are?
Yeah, so one of the things that my colleagues do is they quote, a paper put out by the DOJ under Christopher Wray saying that, white supremacy and MAGA extremism was the biggest threat facing this country, the biggest homeland security threat facing this country. Now, first of all, I would love to see what data they were looking at. But the second part is that this FBI and this DOJ has largely been discredited and proven to be completely partisan and no longer investigating crime. but investigating individuals trying to find crime.
Do you think we're getting closer to any kind of actual action taken by Congress against the FBI? I understand the hearings are necessary, but it can't stop there. Is it going to stop with hearings again?
Well, Jesse, I'd be lying if I told you I had a crystal ball and knew what the future was going to be. Part of the frustrating thing up here is that, we can hold hearings, we can expose a lot up here, but if the DOJ, Congress, we're not allowed to throw anybody in jail. So, it's as frustrating for us as it is for the American people. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I just know that we got to keep hammering these people. And for all of you listening out there to the great Jesse Kelly show, if you have a more moderate Republican representative, please reach out to them. Tell them that, you want to support our efforts to impeach Secretary Mayorkas and others. We need to use the fact that a lot of these individuals up here are like windsocks, and they only go the direction the wind is blowing. And so we need you to help us to make those impeachment winds blow.
Eli, appreciate you, man. I'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jesse. Go Navy.
All right. No, that piece of trash. All right, quit. I have great news. If you enjoyed that, I have a YouTube channel you can subscribe to. Whatever I do, it'll be right there on YouTube. So go subscribe today.